Hello everyone, welcome to Career Talk. This is Anand. As always, my first request to you is to subscribe to the channel if you have not done so, and also press the notifications button on. It will help you get my new videos as soon as I post them. Thank you. Today's video is about communication modes or communication methods. In our daily work life, we use a lot of methods to communicate with our co-workers, with our stakeholders, with our boss, with our colleagues. A lot of ways in which we communicate. Today we are going to talk about those methods that we use, find out what are the effective ways and means of using those methods so that we can benefit and get better results on a day-to-day basis. So there are four methods of communications people widely used at workplace. One is instant messaging, second is email, third is phone calls or conference calls, and fourth is in-person meetings. So today we'll talk about each of these and understand what are the pros or cons and in which situation you should use which mode of communication. So let's get started with instant messaging. Instant messaging is a powerful tool if used in the right way. The primary purpose of instant messaging, as the name suggests, is to send a message instantly so that the person can get the information right here, right now. For example, if I need somebody's phone number, I can just use instant messenger and get that phone number from one of my friends or colleagues. Similarly, I can share a file or I can share a photograph. The problem with the way people are using instant messengers today is that people are trying to solve issues on instant messaging, right? There are groups formed and then people are trying to discuss issues and solve issues on instant messengers, which is not the right way to use that platform, because there is no way you're going to solve issues by sending messages to 50 other people and 50 other people sending messages to you at the same time when nobody is listening to nobody. So at workplace, we need to be careful about how we use it, because there are teams, there are projects, and people form many WhatsApp groups, and then sometimes they just become groups where people send forwards or discuss issues, again, which defeats the purpose. Because formal conversation always needs to happen either over email or in meetings recorded in minutes of meetings. So instant messaging can be a good tool if used in the right way to share information instantly, but otherwise it will just be a waste of time and you will not get anything fruitful out of it. Next mode of communication is email. Email is widely used as the official mode of communication, but today people have very limited time and they have very less patience. So if you write long emails, nobody reads it. So my suggestion is to write concise emails which can be read quickly in one paragraph with crisp and clear messaging. If you have attachments, clearly mention that there are attachments in the email. If possible, attach the content within the email body. So paste a screenshot so that the reader is already aware what is attached and they can take a sneak peek of the attachment in the email body itself. So the idea here is to make sure that the reader is interested in your content and read it completely. Now, like instant messaging, sometimes people use email to solve problems, which I feel is completely incorrect, because in your role, let's say if I am a support analyst and if I am trying to solve somebody's problem, I may send the requester information in an email about his problem, right? If I'm trying to explain the solution to him, and if I write an email to him with a screenshot and some content, and if the reader does not understand completely and replies me back with 2 or 3 more questions, then that is the point of time that I need to understand that I cannot explain this solution to him on an email. So the method of communication used here is not working. Now, even if you reply to him with more information, with more screenshots, there are high chances that the user will still not understand. So as a general rule of thumb, what I suggest to people is that if you are exchanging information and there are questions being asked, right, on an email chain, and there are a lot of people copied on that email chain, and you have already had 2 iterations explaining the solution, then it is a good idea to move out of email and take that discussion into a meeting or a conference, right? So that's the third method of communication, which is a conference call or a meeting on a phone call or a video call. So if you can get people on a video conference, nothing like it, so that you can see them face to face and have that conversation. But even if they are not face to face, if they are on the phone and you can do a screen sharing session and explain the problem and solution to them, that also helps, rather than trying to explain the same thing on an email Getting them on a phone call and doing a screen sharing session and explaining will lead to faster solution. And if there are any comments or doubts or additional questions, you can thrash them then and there. Now, at times there are issues which we cannot solve on emails. There are sometimes issues which we cannot solve on conference call. So the best method to do is in such scenarios is to have in-person meetings. So the fourth method of communication is in-person meetings. And this is actually one method which you should try to use more and more as far as possible. Now, I understand that we have global teams placed out of different cities, different countries. So it is not possible to always have in-person meetings or in-person conversations. But at times what happens is, even if the other team member or even if the other stakeholders are in the same city or in the same building, at times we try to use phone conversations to solve those problems. My suggestion is, if your stakeholder is in the next building or in the adjacent building or next floor, walk up to them, get into the same room, discuss with them in person. That will solve your problem quickly rather than talking on phone, right? So the preferred method of communication should always be in person as far as possible. Now let's understand a few more scenarios. For example, let's assume on a Friday evening, you get a very nasty email, right? You get a very nasty email from one of the stakeholders complaining and kind of accusing you of a problem. It's Friday evening, you are alone in office and your boss is also on leave. Let's assume that. Now what do? Right? You are not happy after reading that email. You feel really low, frustrated, and you just want to blast that person because you know that you are not at fault. What would you do in such scenario, right? Most of the times our natural inclination is to hit reply all because that person has copied few other people. Now on a Friday evening, reply all, and you just are in an emotional state, go on writing content which just comes to your mind because you are reacting to that email which has made you feel low and frustrated. So in that mindset of anger, you may write a very nasty email and reply it to all of those people, and then go home feeling that, he wrote me an email and I gave an equal reply. My suggestion is to hold on in such scenarios. In such scenarios, what I would suggest is get your anger out. Okay, do hit the email reply button, type whatever you wanted to type, emote yourself, write down all the content, but don't hit the send button. Okay, what I mean is, draft everything, keep it in the draft mode, but don't hit the send button. Take a break, go for a walk, or go for a coffee, meet your friends, or better if it's Friday evening, go home. It also depends on what is the situation, what is the business problem described in the email. If the business problem says a certain action needs to be taken immediately, then definitely that action needs to be taken immediately, and then we can solve that ownership issue later. But because you're not happy, you don't want to reply to that email in a mindset where you are very angry. Okay, so my suggestion is to draft all of the content that you want to write, but don't send it. Keep it in your draft, take a break, go out for a walk, for a coffee, or better go home if the business problem is solved, and come back again on Monday, read your content again. I'm sure with a cool mind, if you read your content again, you'll never hit the send button. So in most scenarios where people write strong emails, my suggestion is to take that conversation offline. Ownership issues or issues of allegations or accusations or complaints against each other cannot be solved on emails. Okay, so what happens generally is people keep on replying. I reply, then you reply, and people keep on adding their managers. When one level manager, two level managers, they keep on adding. So that way it becomes a huge email trail with a lot of negativity flowing on. The better option is to send one line reply that the business problem is solved or the business problem will be solved on such and such a date. And for any other queries, let's take the discussion offline. So when we say that let's take the discussion offline, we mean that either we go into an in-person meeting, or then if all the stakeholders are not in the same location, then we get into a conference call and then talk about who has the ownership, what actually happened, who is at fault, and how things can be improved in future. But that negative communication on email which is going around should be definitely discouraged. Okay, so that is how you need to think about your work. All these four methods of communication, instant messaging, emails, conference calls, and in-person meetings are extremely important. and we need to be wise to understand in what scenario we need to use these methods, and in what scenarios we need to move from one method to another. To get the work done faster or sooner, or to make better or to create better relationships, in-person meetings is the best tool, followed by conference calls or phone calls, followed by emails and instant messaging. So I hope this information shared today will help you in your day-to-day work life. Do share your comments and questions if you have any. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. I'll see you next week. Till then, take care. Thank you so much for signing in. Bye for now.